Hello, and welcome to another episode of my predictions series. In this episode, I'll be discussing the June 7th Democratic primaries and single caucus that are happening on that day in the states of California, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, North Dakota, and South Dakota. This is one of the largest single days for the Democratic primary, and there are a lot of delegates up for grabs. All right, so I'll get started first with the caucus. In the caucus in North Dakota, my prediction is that Bernie Sanders will win and that Hillary Clinton will be second. The reason my prediction is that Bernie Sanders will win in the state of North Dakota has very much to do with the fact that North Dakota is a rural state. It's a state that's heavily dependent on trade, and it's a caucus. And Bernie Sanders does exceedingly well in caucus states, especially open caucuses. So my prediction is Sanders definitely is going to win North Dakota by probably 10 to 15% more than Hillary Clinton. And I'm fairly confident in that prediction that Sanders will win North Dakota. I also think that Sanders will win in South Dakota and that Clinton will be second in South Dakota because South Dakota, again, is one of these more rural states in the middle of the country. Sanders has demonstrated that he does quite well in that area of the country, and I think that he'll do well in South Dakota. South Dakota's really fascinating area of the country. I visited both North and South Dakota. I've traveled around the U.S. On road trips a lot in my youth. And it's one of those really interesting states that I think Sanders will do well in because of the demographics of the state of South Dakota. And so I think that Sanders will win in South Dakota, and I think Clinton will be second. I think Sanders will win by 5% more than Clinton. All right, moving on to New Mexico. In the state of New Mexico, my prediction is that Hillary Clinton will be the winner. New Mexico's one of these fascinating states, but its voting demographics lean heavily towards Hillary Clinton. And there's a few reasons for this. The electorate in New Mexico is much more Latino and Hispanic as compared to some of the other states in this primary that are coming up. And Hillary Clinton actually does quite well with Latinos. And so it's a closed primary. Sanders hasn't really campaigned that much in New Mexico, and I think that Clinton will do quite well in the state of New Mexico. I think as a state with a female governor who's Latina, I think that New Mexico definitely has enough voters that are supportive of a female executive leading the country or leading their state that it'll definitely tip the scales in favor of Hillary Clinton more than in terms of Bernie Sanders. And there's a lot of reasons for this, but my prediction is that Hillary Clinton wins in New Mexico. She wins by 10% more than whatever Sanders gets, and that's my prediction. I think she'll win decisively in New Mexico. Looking at Montana. So Montana is an open primary. It's a very rural state. It's mountainous. It's sort of remote. It's in the northern part of the United States, borders Canada. I think that Bernie Sanders will win in the state of Montana. The demographics lean heavily towards Bernie Sanders in Montana, and it's one of those states that there's just not that much campaigning that went on there. There's not a whole lot of focus on the state of Montana, but in terms of the demographics of who's voting in the state of Montana, I think that Sanders has more advantages than Clinton, and so I think that Sanders will win in the state of Montana's primary by probably 5% more than Clinton. It's going to be closer than some of the other contests. All right, state of New Jersey. I predict that Hillary Clinton will win in New Jersey's primary and that Sanders will be second there. The reason for that prediction is Clinton does well in the new states. New York, I think she'll do well in New Mexico, and I think she'll do great in New Jersey. And the reason for it is that New Jersey's demographics, all those boxes of the demographics that are in favor of Clinton, there's a whole lot of them in New Jersey. It's one of the wealthier states per capita. It's got a high concentration of Democrats who are sort of establishment Democrats, meaning that they're very active within the Democratic Party. And New Jersey is a state that has a close enough proximity to the New York media markets that they know who Hillary Clinton is. They know Hillary Clinton's work during her time as a senator in the state of New York, and they're more familiar overall with Hillary Clinton than with Bernie Sanders in terms of her politics and her overall presence within the state of New Jersey's media markets. So my prediction is that Hillary Clinton wins in the state of New Jersey's primary, and Sanders gets second. I think it will be close. I think it will be within 5 to 7 percentage points difference, but I think Hillary Clinton will win in the state of New Jersey. All right. The big kahuna, the big state, the one with the most delegates, more delegates than all the other contests combined, and then some. So California is the most populous state in the United States. It's one of the largest economies in the world, and I think that Bernie Sanders is going to win the primary in the state of California. And there's a few reasons for this. The first reason has to do with some of the negative media attention that Clinton's been getting lately with the whole email thing. It's never a good day when the media is reporting negative stuff for a candidate, but there hasn't been any huge media event for Hillary to just sort of for Clinton to correct the record across the country in the major media markets. There hasn't been a big debate. So Sanders and Clinton were, supposedly there was going to be a debate where Clinton apparently agreed to do a debate in return for Sanders doing the debate for the New Hampshire primary. And apparently this is one of those things where it's just not politically advantageous, I guess, for Clinton to debate, and so she decided not to. But the thing is, when there's no debate to sort of set the record straight, have the voters, when they're watching, pay closer attention to, the overall message and the general platform and policies of the candidate, well, then that means that a lot less voters are hearing where the candidate stands. And this matters to the extent that what's going to have a bigger difference then is who's campaigning more in the state, who's doing more ad buys, and that is by far Bernie Sanders. Clinton just has had a presence in California for sure, and is campaigning in California, but I think that Sanders has done more. He's done a lot more rallies in California. He's had a lot more people show up to those rallies, and I think there's a lot more energy in favor of Bernie Sanders as compared to Hillary Clinton. Sanders gets these massive rallies with tens of thousands of people to show up, and I just haven't seen Clinton have anything near that. And the thing with California, because it's such a big and populous state, getting that energy, that drive, that momentum in the state through enthusiasm, that's a big deal for a voting electorate that big. There's so many people voting in the state of California's primary. And so I think that the Sanders campaign has done a very good job of trying to get people to register to vote and turn out for this primary that's coming up on June 7th, and I think that Sanders is going to win. That's my prediction. I think it will be close. I don't think it's going to be a landslide victory. I don't think he's going to win, a 70-30 split where he'll win 70% and Clinton 30%. I think it's going to be closer to maybe 55% Sanders, 45% Clinton, or even closer than that. But it's going to be close, but Sanders is going to win, is my prediction. So for an overview of where the race stands, I don't think Sanders will win enough pledged delegates to become the nominee after June 7th, nor do I think he'll win enough of the superdelegates to switch over on June 7th. However, Clinton's not going to secure enough pledged delegates either, and so it's going to come down at the convention to who the pledged delegates decide should be the nominee. Because enough of those delegates will have to vote to decide to make that decisive difference at the convention. I think Sanders has to win huge in California and New Jersey to make a solid dent in the delegate the gap that exists. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to lose in New Jersey. And I think it's going to be close in California. It's not going to be a huge victory in California for Sanders. So that's my prediction, that at the end of the day on June 7th, Hillary Clinton is more likely to be the nominee than Sanders is likely to be the nominee. But neither of them will be the presumptive nominee at that point, because there is no actual vote that happens from the superdelegates until the Democratic Convention. And a lot can happen between June 7th and the Democratic Convention. For instance, this email thing, the scandal with the emails for Clinton could be, take a turn for even more negative media coverage. And if the polling turns south, if for whatever reason Clinton starts registering in the polls as 15%, 20%, 25% less likely than Trump to win in the general election, there could be a very compelling argument from Sanders that he's a better candidate in the general election going into November. That's a decision that's ultimately going to come down to the superdelegates. I do think that it's going to be a really fascinating day on June 7th. There's going to be a lot of really interesting contests to watch, and I'm definitely curious to see who wins, because I've been doing these predictions videos for quite some time. But I think as well, it's important to have some perspective on the state of the race. And the perspective is that the race is not done until Bernie Sanders literally withdraws from the race and says that Clinton should be the nominee. If he's still in the race and saying that he's going to take it to the convention and try and persuade superdelegates to cast their vote for him instead of Clinton, well, that's his choice, and that means that the race is still alive and well. And I'm going to be doing a prediction video for the convention before the convention happens, based on what I think will happen and what I predict will happen, and based on developments in this the negative media coverage or the positive media coverage that's been going on. Anyways, ultimately, those are my predictions, and I stand by them. That I think Sanders will win California, Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota, and I think Clinton will win New Jersey and New Mexico. Those are my predictions. And I'll be really surprised, very surprised, if Clinton wins North Dakota, because it is a caucus. And I'll be surprised, reasonably surprised, if Sanders wins in New Jersey, because I don't think he will. I think New Jersey is definitely much more advantageous for Clinton than it is for Sanders. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a good day. All right, thank you so much for watching.